And we should be good to go. We should be live right now, Big Travie. Welcome in to you. Welcome in, Whisper Nation, if you are joining us right now. We are jumping into the Waiver Wire show. We're doing it live today to get this. We got a lot of news and information coming out. Big Travie's finishing up that article. So we want to jump on here, go over some waiver wire guys. This is a big week, week 13. Some people are week 1 of the playoffs. Other people this is the last week to get into the playoffs, Travis. So we want to give them the most accurate guys to get in your lineup this week. Those waiver wire guys that will help you this week and help you down that stretch. So we'll be diving into that today. If you are new to our channel, please hit subscribe, hit that bell so you get notified anytime we drop new content, which is daily, or whenever we jump on a live stream, which we go live every Friday and Sunday. And then sometimes we just decide on Tuesdays, let's just jump on and do a live waiver wire show. So we just do that. So make sure you're subscribed so you get notified whenever we just go live and have some fun. In this show, like I said, we're going to be going over some waiver wire guys, an article that Big Travie wrote. If you want to see the full breakdown of the article and read more in depth of these players, you can do so. I'll leave a link to the article in the description below, so you can click on that as well as read past articles. If you find a guy on waivers that you maybe want to pick up, then you should read about him on past waiver wire shows. Travis?
Yeah, I think that's a great breakdown here. What we're trying to do here, and just remember, like this week's a little weird for all of us, not just you as fantasy GMs, but we've got the Pittsburgh-Baltimore game pushed about 7 different times now, and it's finally landed on a spot tomorrow in the afternoon. So make sure your guys are setting your lineups for that. Looks like this game's going to happen.
Yeah.
After if you were with us live on Sunday, we were not sure if this game was going to happen. I don't want to say it's for sure either, like knock on wood, but I do believe that this game goes, and they've got something set up. What it does actually do is move the Pittsburgh-Washington football team game to Monday of next week as well, and it moves the Ravens-Cowboys game that was scheduled for Thursday to Tuesday of next week. So make sure you're keeping track of that, having the schedule up. But most of all, I think for the sake of what we're going to discuss today, make sure you guys know your league's rules, okay? Some of these leagues, most of them have adapted to this, and they've pushed the waiver wire not just to Wednesday, but to Thursday, that it's going to process Thursday at midnight. So you're going to get that game in with Pittsburgh and Baltimore. Then you're going to get a chance after that game to set your final waiver priorities, put your budget out, but make sure you're looking at the actual league rules. A lot of these leagues are putting up banners above when you log in, so you can see what their actual rules are. Take the time, read that, understand your rules. When we lay out how to win a fantasy championship, part of that is knowing your league rules and settings, and you've got to be able to be adept to those things, I should say. And then also, I just wanted to note, we're going to go through some waiver guys here. We know this is a waiver wire show. It is a live show, and we appreciate Whisper Nation in here. If you guys could give the video a like, give us a sub if you're new to the channel, and we want to get through all your questions, and we're going to do so at the end of the show after we get through some of the waiver wire information first. So don't think we're ignoring you. We know you're here. We appreciate you all in here. We're going to shout you out a little bit later when we get to those questions.
Definitely. Thank you for mentioning that once more. All right, Travis, let's get into these waiver wire people to add, who we should maybe drop, and then we can get to those listener questions. Once again, hold on until the end. Stick with us. We will answer as many questions as possible at the end of the show. All right, Big Travis, to start this off, we gave that wonderful introduction. Once again, when we talk about these waiver wire guys, we are only talking about guys that are less than 50% rostered in Yahoo leagues. If their name doesn't come up on this show, it could be because they are over that 50% threshold. We don't want to waste your time with that. I will throw out the names of guys that you might want to consider looking that do have over 50% ownership right now, or rostership right now on Yahoo leagues. That's Latavius Murray at 60%, Myles Gaston's at 69%, nice. Jamal Williams at 60%, Michael Pittman at 58%, Jarvis Landry at 77%, Curtis Samuel at 68%, and Hayden Hurst at 78%. So make sure you check your waiver wires for those guys. They would obviously become first above all of these other guys in this article. So let's jump.
or at least worth your consideration, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's look at just briefly. Sorry, Johnny. Latavius Murray getting a lot more usage with Taysom Hill in the lineup. Myles Gaskin should be eligible to return, and we've seen whoever is the Miami running back seems to get bell cow volume, so you like that. Jamal Williams really picking up his touches over the last couple weeks. Pittman, Johnny's boy, we know he's been explosive in this offense. Should be a good piece for them down the stretch here. And
It's
then
a
you've
nice
got
use.
Jarvis Landry, Curtis Samuel with DJ Moore in question, his health in question at the moment, and then Hayden Hurst, who's just been consistent in a tight end situation that has not been consistent this year.
Love that. All right, we're going to remind you, Tampa Bay and Carolina have these late round buys, or late week buys, which is really random. But if you have any players in those two games, make sure they're out of your lineup. All right, we're going to jump into the running backs first here, Big Travie. Number one on your list comes in at Devontae Booker, Las Vegas Raiders running back. He's rostered on only 10% of Yahoo leagues. We've been talking about him for a couple weeks now as a potential handcuff that you need to have. We did see, Josh Jacobs go down with an apparent ankle injury. It's reported to not be too serious, but it looked pretty serious on the field. Another one of those like kind of Kenyon Drake injuries. Looks a lot more serious than it actually was. But you like Devontae Parker this week and moving forward, even with Josh Jacobs, not 100%.
I love Devontae Booker. I think you misspoke there and just said Parker. No big deal.
Oh, yeah,
I also
sorry.
love Devontae Parker.
Freudian
but,
slip, yeah.
He's going to be rostered in too many leagues for you to pick up this week, most likely. Devontae Booker, yeah. I mean, really, this isn't so much of loving his talent. What I say in the article is he's not the sexiest talent, but everything is pointing to some great. I mean, what we need this week, and this was a different thing for me this week, was writing this article as opposed to projects that you could put down the line or even playoff matchups that you could exploit. It's all about week 13, baby. We're here for lucky week 13. We're trying to get that smash spot. And Devontae Booker is the premium ad for this week. Look, I understand that they're saying it's not a serious injury. They're also calling it a sprained ankle for Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
And Vegas has the Raiders favored by 8 points against the Jets this week. If you're the Raiders, you have no reason. You're firmly in the playoff picture. You have no reason to rush Josh Jacobs back out there when you're going to need him for the playoffs, for the actual NFL playoffs. So this puts Devontae Booker as a top waiver ad against a Jets defense that's just been abysmal, and they're in positive game script. I mean, we're just a couple weeks away from Devontae Booker going for 2 touchdowns in the same game with Jacobs. So I think Booker in this offense, we know John Gruden from not just his days over the last couple of years, but his days with Tampa and Oakland. He loves to run the football. He's a power run heavy offense. And we've seen that be the case here. I love this matchup. I love this opportunity. I would bet money that Jacobs doesn't go this week. It just doesn't make sense that they would push him. And I'm picking up Booker wherever I can.
Okay, definitely worth the number one waiver wire stash if you have it and you need a win this week. Booker looks to be able to be poised to give you some nice fantasy points this week. Number 2 on this list, Frank Gore, the New York Jets, roster on only 25% of Yahoo leagues, has been on probably more waiver wire columns than any other player in NFL history. Yet here we are in 2020. Frank Gore. Listen, if you listen to the matchup breakdown show last week that we put out on podcast, or if you're a Patreon supporter, you get to watch that show as well. We talked about Frank Gore and how he is the last guy standing there. And if you were desperate, you needed a running back last week, go and grab Frank Gore, plug him and play him. And sure enough, he ended up having a pretty solid day, getting 17 plus touches once again. But you really like Frank Gore this week as a waiver wire ad.
Yeah, I really do. Well, I shouldn't say really. I've been trying to avoid this all year. Frank Gore, now 67 years old. Don't really want to talk about Frank Gore. One, he's Frank Gore. He's really old. Look, I love Frank Gore. He's going to go down as a Hall of Famer. He is not running the ball very well, and he hasn't been for a few years. But he consistently gets volume at some point in the year, and we're here again with LaMichael Pirine on the IR, Le'Veon Bell shipped out of town. Frank Gore is now the man for Adam Gase, and he ran the ball 18 times last week, and I just think
back-to-back weeks averaging over 4 yards per carry for the New York Jets at the age of 68. It's amazing. I do think that it's still He's worth a play if you need a
Yeah, and they're
running
going to
back
play
this week. They
The
get
Raiders here. The Raiders have allowed the second most rushing touchdowns and the fourth most points per game to enemy running backs. So,
yeah.
as much as we love the matchup for Devontae Booker, it's a great matchup for Frank Gore too. I would lean more towards Booker because of the age and the offense, and I trust them more.
Mm-hmm.
But Frank Gore's not a slouch and could be a decent flex RB3 situation that could help you win and get into the playoffs.
It does sound a
I've
little.
started I've started worse and made it in before, so I would just say that.
I will second that notion just this year. All right, the third guy you have on here, we'll talk about. He's been on this show a couple of times for the last couple of weeks, building momentum here. Cam Akers, running back, seemed to really pop off yesterday for the Los Angeles Rams. He's rostered on 30% of Yahoo leagues. Listen, this is still a timeshare in the LA Rams backfield, but each week it seems like Cam Akers is gaining a little bit more confidence in the coaching staff, and it's causing Henderson to go in the reverse, reverse ground here and not be as effective. Cam Akers, is this more of a stash heading into the playoffs? Do you think there's a real potential where he could be one of those guys in the playoffs that really helps lead, fantasy owners to championships?
I mean, I'm hesitant to put that much pressure on it, Johnny, because this is a full-blown committee. It's a mess. I mean, just last week, Malcolm Brown led the trio in snaps played. Henderson had the most touches, but it was Cam Akers who scored the touchdown and looked the most explosive. So really what this was is, look, I understand in most leagues you could be desperate for running back. I mean, we've seen it. We've had questions that are just some of the most desperate questions for running back in fantasy football. If you're desperate and you need to start someone in that flex and you're trying to, what the heck at the flex this week, I think Cam Akers is worth consideration against an Arizona team that hasn't been, a world beater against the run. They've been middle of the road. And I think this is a game that's going to probably have a high over-under and going to be an opportunity for somebody to score. And I really like Akers, as a potential guy who could get in there. If they watched the tape last week against a tough San Fran defense and they saw what Akers put out there, he finally looked healthy. He finally looked explosive. I think they could lean on him again. But once again, I need to preface this with saying, I hope you don't have to be in a situation where you got to start him for your playoff life. And I'm not much more confident than a flex position for Cam Akers this week.
I definitely agree with those two statements. We also, you wrote about Adrian Peterson, definitely a guy to look out for, barring the health of the rookie over there. And we do expect that he'll be back. But once again, monitor that situation closely. Did get 2 touchdowns. Another one you wrote about here, DeAndre Washington, Miami Dolphins, only roster on 1% of Yahoo leagues. Another guy who grew in or got some more playing time this week and could increase that playing time further down the road. Travis, I want to jump into some guys that if you're going to cut in order to pick up one of these guys, you got to get, let's say you got to get in, right? We'll start with here. Running back, let's go Chase Edmonds. You got to get in this week. Are you cutting Chase Edmonds for any of these guys?
Yeah, I think with Drake back and healthy, I would be considering cutting Chase Edmonds for a Devontae Booker or a Frank Gore. If I need the win,
you need the win, yeah,
and I need that position open, I think that's a good spot to go ahead and do that. Let me take a look at Chase Edmonds here. I don't believe he's gotten kind of the work we wanted him to get, over the last couple of weeks. Yeah, I mean, just not some great situations here over the last couple of weeks. He did get a touchdown against Seattle, which helped his day, but as far as PPR formats, he's doing okay. He's got 4 catches in back-to-back games.
Mm-hmm.
But I would just say if you're in a standard or if you're in a situation where you need the win, I really trust the volume of Devontae Booker and Frank Gore, especially.
Okay. Would you rather handcuff Devontae Booker or Chase Edmonds? Which one would you rather have as a handcuff?
I'd rather have Chase Edmonds as the handcuff. I think he's more valuable. So if it is that decision, you're in the playoffs and you're looking to go in and you've got Jacobs and Drake and you're looking to handcuff one of them, I would keep on to Edmonds or pick him up if he's available over Devontae Booker.
Jarrett McKinnon. Would you drop Jarrett McKinnon for?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Mostert back, Wilson back. It looks like McKinnon's relegated to like the 3rd string.
All right. And what about Jamal Williams?
So Jamal Williams should have made the article, but he was too owned. He was rostered in too much. I actually like Jamal Williams' workload over the last couple weeks, but he would have been bottom of the barrel kind of in this, not bottom of the barrel, but close to the bottom. And so once again, I would pick up a Devontae Booker or a Frank Gore above Jamal Williams.
All right, last one before we move on to the wide receivers to pick up here. J.D. McKissick. Would you drop J.D. McKissick for any of these guys? He's had a couple of down weeks. He started off really, really hot with Alex Smith, but the last 2 weeks failed to get 9 fantasy points in a half PPR league. He's only seen 10 total touches 2 weeks ago and then 3 total touches last week. Would you drop J.D. McKissick for any of these guys?
So I would drop McKissick for Booker. I would be hesitant in a PPR to drop McKissick for Gore. And the only reason I say that is because the next 2 weeks for McKissick are Pittsburgh and San Francisco. Tough defenses, teams that maybe could have their way with Washington, which would put McKissick back on the field for a lot more snaps. I mean, he saw a season low in snaps last week against Dallas, but remember, Washington blew Dallas out in this game, controlled the pace of the game basically from the start. And so I think that's what you need to realize. Game script depends for both backs, for McKissick and Gibson. It's very dependent on game script. So if I'm looking at Pittsburgh and San Francisco on the schedule, McKissick actually may be a good play against Pittsburgh this week in 13. And I actually think I would trust that a little more than Frank Gore because, look, we're bare bones here for the running back position. That's why Frank Gore was so hard to write about. I love Devontae Booker. I think he's a gem this week, especially. But Frank Gore, I'd be a little bit more concerned about over McKissick.
All right. Let's move on to the wide receivers here. Wide receiver that you can potentially pick up and help get you into the playoffs. We're going to start off with wide receiver for the New York Jets, Brashad Perriman. Roster on only 12% of Yahoo leagues, but you've liked what you've seen out of him the last couple of weeks that you think he's worth the waiver wire pickup.
Yeah, I was looking at his roster percentage, Johnny, and I was trying to figure out if it was my fault or Whisper Nation's fault for not listening to me. Maybe I haven't beaten the drum hard enough. And obviously last week was a weird week with Thanksgiving. We didn't get a waiver call him out, so I feel bad about that. But Perriman, he's got 98% or more snaps played in the last 3 weeks. He's got 50 or more receiving yards in 3 straight weeks, and he's got 3 touchdowns over his last 3 games. We know Flacco. We know he loves to push the ball down the field. You look at Perriman's next 2 games, Johnny, against the Raiders and Seahawks. Great matchups. So he's good for this week, I think, as a flex, and even next week. That's a winning formula for someone you can find that you can just plug in and feel confident in. And if we remember, maybe it's something in the air this time of year, but Perriman was a big part of playoff teams last year with the Bucs. You watch Godwin and Mike Evans go down in Tampa, and you watched Perriman kind of explode on the scene last year. And I remember starting Brashad Perriman in my championship roster last year in our league of records. So there are, there are worse options you could do to try and feel comfortable with a Jets player. I get it. It's Adam Gase and the Jets, but they're going to have to throw. They're going to be down in multiple games. So
love that.
In every game.
All right, next wide receiver we got from your favorite team here, Allen Lazard, Green Bay Packers wide receiver, roster on 39% of Yahoo leagues. Found the end zone in his game back this week. He looks good. We know the rapport is there between Rodgers and Lazard. We know that MBS continues to struggle with the drops. So what do you see the outcome of Allen Lazard for this week and moving forward for the next few weeks? Is he just a 1-week plug and play, or is he a guy that you might potentially keep on your roster as a really high upside play next to Devontae Adams?
Look, I think both sections that we've talked about this week, running backs and wide receivers, they're top heavy. For me, it's Devontae Booker kind of and everyone else and mix and match. I feel that way with wide receiver this week. I think it's Perriman and kind of everyone else. The reason I say that is Perriman is the one guy in this bunch that it really is locked into probably the number 1 target share, or at least the number 1 upside for the pass catchers on his team. Lazard doesn't have that, but what we do know is Lazard's played 5 games. He's scored in 3 of them. And they've all been red zone shots for him. So they like to get it to the wide receiver in the red zone. They're not big heavy on the tight end. We've seen Aaron Jones touchdowns kind of dip. The regression's been there. It's kind of swung in favor of the wide receivers. And so I think, with the MVS situation where he's been inconsistent, Lazard has been kind of consistent for them. Now, he avoided a little bit of a setback. He had a nasty hit that he took on Sunday night, but he was able to return to the game. And so for me, I think you could do worse in your flex or wide receiver 4 spot than a guy that Rodgers looks to in the end zone. So really, if you're swinging for a touchdown, you got a good bet that Lazard can get it done for the Packers because they are rolling on offense right now.
Last wide receiver we'll touch on here. Major news. Will Fuller was tested positive for banned substance. He is now suspended for 6 weeks, Travis, which means that he will miss 1 week into next season. He'll miss the first week. So look out for that to affect his draft stock for next season. But he was on pace, Travis, to get to 1,000 yards. I mean, one of our favorite videos of the summer was we were talking about Will Fuller. Is he a wide receiver 1 this year? And he was surely looking at it. He was on pace to be a wide receiver 1 and goes down. Now we know why, because he was taking some PEDs maybe. But Kiki Cutie seems to be the lone beneficiary now that you go from a wide receiver room that just let go of Kenny Stills and then now is significantly depleted because they still have Randall Cobb on IR. And they let go Kiki. They traded away Hopkins. We already know that story. So Kiki Cutie, do you think he is going to? We do think that Brandon Cooks will now be the exo facto wide receiver 1 there for Deshaun Watson. But do you think that Kiki Cutie could have some value in these last few weeks into the playoffs?
I was just thinking about exo facto, connect the dots.
Yeah, dude.
I don't look. Here's the thing. I'm going to be completely honest and transparent with Whisper Nation and with you right now. I didn't even really want to put Kiki Cutie on this list, but I got down to wide receivers and realized I only had 2 because we're basically in that point in the year. People are hoarding up what they need for the playoff stretch. So I will just say he is the most wish and a prayer player on this list, and that includes tight ends and QBs because Cutie hasn't played more than 50% or more than 55% of snaps. He has gotten over 50% of snaps over the last 2 weeks, but he's never really gone above that. And this is just me thinking out loud. Randall Cobb is out on IR now. You've got Will Fuller. They released Kenny Stills. We've got Will Fuller on the PED situation. So really what I think this will do will be an upgrade for Brandon Cooks and the tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't necessarily know if that's, I think Cutie's got a shot here. So maybe if you're a playoff team, you want to stash Cutie and see what happens this week. And if you're in week 13 and you need a win, it gets really desperate trying to start Cutie. But I did want to put him on here because I think he deserves some consideration.
All right. Let me ask you a couple of guys if you would drop them for any of these guys. All right. Jerry Jeudy.
I would probably drop Jerry Jeudy for Brashad Perriman. I think I would stop there.
All right. Corey Davis.
I like Corey Davis. I think Corey Davis has been good. Probably should have made it on the list as far as being rostered too much in most leagues. We can add him in there. But, yeah, I would keep Corey Davis over both those guys.
All right. I'm going to give you back-to-back hard ones here. All right. Before we move on to these tight end streamers. T. Higgins and Cole Beasley. Would you drop either one of those guys?
Okay. I would not drop T. Higgins. It seems like T. Higgins is actually the red zone target that we wanted Drew Sample to be at the very beginning of the year, or actually after Uzomah got hurt. T. Higgins, his big body, they're using him like a tight end. I mean, we've said this a couple times, but he was once again a red zone factor last week. He's not going to see the volume he saw with Burrow, but 2 great matchups against Miami and Dallas coming up, where the secondary or the ancillary corners in those defenses are going to be lined up on Higgins because AJ Green's existence. And that means good things for Higgins. So I like him. And then we've talked about at length, Cole Beasley without John Brown just gets it done. Now, last week he didn't get it done with volume. He got it done as a thrower. He was a QB there for a second. But you still like the fact that, he's been very consistent without John Brown on the field.
All right. Just want to mention one more time, we got a lot of people jumping in here. If you have any questions, we will be getting to those just shortly. We're going to cover a couple tight ends that you can pick up off of waivers this week, and maybe a couple of streaming quarterbacks, and then we'll get to your questions. We appreciate all of you joining and staying in this and for this video. If you could do us a big favor, hit that that thumbs up button, and if you're new to our channel, let us know, sub, and we'll give you a shout out. All right. couple more tight ends, or we'll give you a couple tight ends here, Travis, and then we'll give them a couple of quarterbacks that they can stream this week, and then we'll close out with getting to Whisper Nation's questions here. So tight ends, we got a couple here that are worth streaming. First one comes in Dalton Schultz, Dallas Cowboys tight end, roster only 22% of Yahoo leagues. But you liked Dalton Schultz this week.
Yeah, I mean, just 5 or more targets in 4 straight games, Johnny. He didn't have a ton of work against Washington. That was a tougher matchup, but he still got 5 receptions on 5 targets for 24 yards. I really like him. He's going to be playing a Baltimore defense that may or may not be able to roster as many people as they'd like coming into that Tuesday night matchup next week. I like Dalton Schultz. I know it's a risky maybe guy playing against Baltimore, just given their situation. But Schultz is a guy seeing ton of snaps. I mean, over 85% snap share in 4 straight, and getting the targets. And we've seen Andy Dalton, make tight ends relevant in the past. You look at Tyler Eifert, you look at Uzomah, you look at, Tyler Kroft. He's done it before with tight ends, and Dalton Schultz is a guy that he's looking to. Plus, he's got the same name. So I think there's a connection there.
Yeah, must be. All right, next tight end you got on this list, which I actually like. It is a little bit scary because it's
You didn't like Schultz?
No, it's not that I don't like Schultz. It's just it's not the sexiest pick up there. But
no tight end is really sexy at this point.
That's very true. Very good point. But this next tight end is getting, coaching staff just loves him, and that's Trey Burton, Indianapolis Colts tight end. We understand that there's Mo Alley Cox and you got baby hands as well over there. But Trey Burton continues to be the guy that the coaching staff puts in the red zone area, and Phillip Rivers trusts him. So you like Trey Burton. I like him this week as well as a really good streamer. And you have potential moving forward if there are any injuries to any of those other tight ends. The last one we'll talk about, Kyle Rudolph, Minnesota Vikings, tight end, roster only 15% of Yahoo leagues. Didn't play with Irv Smith this week, so monitor that situation. But he did see 8 targets in this game, Travis.
Yeah, 8 targets, 80% snap share. That was a season high for Kyle Rudolph. You see the schedule coming up, Johnny. Jacksonville, Tampa Bay, Chicago, New Orleans, all are top 10 matchups against the tight end. You've seen a shift in this offense to where with Justin Jefferson's emergence, Dalvin Cook, not getting as much volume, Kirk Cousins, and this passing attack are starting to get warmed up. And against these teams they're playing in the next few weeks, I expect that to continue. And I think that can really benefit Kyle Rudolph, especially if there's an extended amount of time missed for Dalvin Cook, which doesn't look likely, or at least scaled back, Dalvin Cook's usage, but then also Adam Thielen working his way back from the COVID list. So we've got all those things in play here, and Rudolph seems to be, a decent dart throw at tight end.
All right, and we will finish off this part of the show with 2 quarterback streamers that you like this week. Give them to me, Travis.
Yeah, I like Kirk Cousins. I just mentioned that here, and the bottom line is that Kirk Cousins has been super consistent over the last 4 weeks. 18 or more points over his last 4 weeks. He's eclipsed 250 yards in 3 straight games. He has multiple touchdowns in 4 straight weeks, including 3 touchdowns in 3 of his last 4. He continues to be dealing right now, and he had a great game against Carolina. 45 attempts. That was a season high, Johnny. He connected on 34 of them for the 3 touchdowns as mentioned. And he gets a Jacksonville squad this week. Like, you could not ask for a better matchup. We saw even Baker Mayfield get on the streaming radar against Jacksonville last week because of how bad they are in the secondary. So I really like him this week. He's going to get Jacksonville. Not only is he going to get them, he's going to get them at home in the Dome. So you love that too, especially when you need consistent points right now. You've seen guys fail you like Cam Newton, Jared Goff, Derek Carr down the stretch. We've looked for streamers. I know this is risky, but I think, Kirk Cousins is kind of a lock in week 13 for me.
I love it. And another quarterback here, stay in the Flames as long as Tua Tagovailoa does not get cleared to play. Of course, if that happens, take this one off the board. But Ryan Fitzmagic, like to stay in the Flames with that one. Miami Dolphins only roster on 20% of Yahoo leagues. But the early indication, it seems like it could be Ryan Fitzmagic again this week.
Yeah, I would just, like you said it perfectly there. If Tua gets activated, you're obviously not going to start Fitzpatrick. but he plays Cincinnati, and we've seen Cincinnati kind of get torched by even the lowliest of quarterbacks. So you like this matchup.
All right, now that the business part of all of that stuff is out of the way, Travis, now we get to the fun part where we can ask Whisper Nation their questions. We'll make it through these questions. As always, we like to say, if you are new to our channel, please hit subscribe, hit that bell so you get notified anytime we go live or drop new content, which is daily. Or if you don't like watching us, we do produce podcasts. We'll put this on a podcast platform. So make sure you're downloading our podcast. Just search the Fantasy Whispers. All right, Travis. Also, if you're in watching us right now, we got 14 people watching. If you could give us a thumbs up, give us a like button, it really helps our channel grow. All right, Travis, let's dive into these questions here. Gus Ramos, once again, joining us. There's no question whenever we go live, Gus is joining us. We appreciate Gus. We should just start naming the Gus bus. Like, once the Gus bus leaves Baltimore, I think we found our new Gus bus. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I agree. I've been calling him Gus Bus for a couple of weeks. You just never listen to me. So Gus Bus and I go way back. I don't know who you are, but yeah, apparently that's how it goes. Yeah. Gus Ramos always in here, man. Like Johnny said, every live, we appreciate you. And he also followed up his "Let's do this," which we appreciate with, guess who played against Tyreek Hill? This guy, LOL. And I forgot to switch out Carr for Brady.
That's brutal.
Oh man,
that's a
brutal week 12. The good news is hopefully you have week 13 to bounce back from. Although losses this time of year they mean a little bit more. Hopefully, Gus, you're going to make the playoffs, and we can get you another W.
Definitely. Brett Johnson asks, "We're stashing defenses or blocking quality ads for others, even if you don't need them." I think so.
I'll tell you a little story. Maybe Johnny can add to it too, because he's done this. Last year in our league of record, we had a situation where I was playing against the GM had Josh Allen in the championship. Josh Allen was playing against New England, so I wanted to psych him out a little bit. I went and picked up every single quarterback I could. I dumped the bench for every quarterback going into championship week, and I did get in his head. He started Mitch Trubisky over Josh Allen against me because that was the only quarterback kind of I left, startable out there. And Josh Allen had a decent game in the championship, but it was about the mind games I was able to play with the opponent, getting his head a little bit there, and about him second-guessing his starting position there. So I really do think, stashing defenses, blocking people with picking up defenses, these are all strategies that can help you win. I just wouldn't give up guys that you think can score points against you that week. That would be the one caveat. And maybe wait till the waiver period is in the right spot for you to drop said guys.
Yeah, I also would, when I'm doing this, I wouldn't let go of any important handcuffs. I think that's important. Don't let any important handcuff. Chase Edmonds, the guys that are the clear handcuffs. Those are the ones that you're not going to want to drop in order to do this strategy. But yeah, if you just have a bunch of dart throws anyway on your bench, you're already locked into the playoffs, and you want to start looking forward and grabbing up some defense and stuff, I don't have an issue with that. I do think it is a good play. Oscar the Grouch saying Drake had the big game, and sure, yes, he did. It was a very, very big game. Oscar the Grouch referring to he was on our live stream on Sunday mornings, which would go live 90 minutes before kickoff, and he was in here saying Drake is going to have a big. He was just repeating Drake is going to have a big game, and sure enough, Drake did. Thankfully, definitely like seeing that on my fantasy rosters, but good one, Oscar. Like that one. Let's see. We're going through some of these other. Gus Raymond says, as commissioner, we had to vote on our league. We went from 4-team playoff to a 6, a COVID season. This does make me. I really am interested in seeing what the vast majority of playoff leagues do, because obviously, Travis, our league of record is 8 seeds. But we play in ones that are 6, we play in ones that are 4, only top 4. So I always like seeing how people do their league and how many playoff seeds get in. That's always fun.
I'd be interested to see how many leagues or teams they have in that league. But yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of caveats that we've been in part of so many discussions just in the amount of leagues we play, on what we're going to do with payout, what we're going to do if the season got canceled, what we're going to do with moved games. I just want to take a moment to say I'm really proud of the fantasy football industry, not just Whisper Nation, or us, the Fantasy Whisperers, but these platforms. They've adjusted. They've done it on the fly over the weeks. When we were first talking about this, we were in the dark, all of us. How are we going to handle these moves of stuff? And now it seems like the platforms are on it. They're committed to trying to get us the most information. So just make sure you're checking your league settings. Again, another opportunity for you to know the rules and the settings. But I will just say, man, so much of fantasy football is adapting and overcoming all the different things. And it used to just be injuries and maybe bad matchups. But this time, this year, it's been a little bit extra. There's been a little extra sauce in the cooking, and I appreciate working through adversity, even if it is in a fake football game, that we've made up here. I think it's been fun to navigate these murky waters this year.
For sure. I couldn't have said it better. Rob Shorter says, evening, gents. Evening, everyone. Evening, Rob. Appreciate you joining us here. Rock Out asks, Claypool or Deontay Johnson non-PPR?
Claypool or Deontay Johnson non-PPR. I'm going with Deontay Johnson, especially in standard. I know that Claypool's got the more upside, but Deontay has been a volume monster when he's played. I've got to think that he has the eye of Big Ben, and so I'll be playing Deontay Johnson, especially in a tough matchup. You want to trust the guy who's probably going to get more looks.
Yeah, I like that. Gus Ramos asks, should I drop Jamal Williams, so this is a big one. Jamal Williams, Madison, Kirk, Edmonds. I need to drop for a waiver pickup. So out of those, who would you drop?
Is he talking about Christian Kirk or Kirk Cousins?
I believe he's talking about Christian Kirk.
But I don't know who he's trying to pick up. I mean, I guess if he's asking Brashad Perriman or Christian Kirk, I would probably still lean Christian Kirk. But I do like Perriman. So actually, I think I would go Perriman. I would go Perriman over Kirk. Just the volume concerns me a little bit with Kirk. Also, Kyler Murray's been a little dinged up, hasn't thrown it as well over the last couple weeks. And the matchup's really good for Perriman here against Vegas. So I actually would drop Christian Kirk for Perriman. If we look at running back, he's asking, I'm sure, Madison or Jamal for Devontae Booker. Booker would be my cutoff. I would keep myself Jamal and even who's the other one? Madison. I would keep those valuable handcuffs over a guy like Frank Gore, unless I absolutely needed that win this week. Then Frank Gore could definitely emerge.
All right. We got Jamal Williams or Kamara. I think this is a question for this weekend matchup, but I'm not benching Kamara. I understand his output hasn't been as it was in the first, with Drew Brees. Having Taysom Hill as a quarterback definitely downgrades Kamara and limits his upside, but I'm not going to get cute and start Jamal Williams over Kamara. Kamara is just too gifted, and it only takes one play for him to make a 50-yard play and touchdown. So I'm staying in the flames with Kamara. Brett Forsyth, week 13, Ravens running back running back versus Dallas, Dobbins, and RB1. Oh, he's just saying that next week. Yeah, Dobbins. It will be interesting to see what this game breakdown is as far as the splits. It's looking like Dobbins and Mark Ingram are both going to be able to play in tomorrow's game. So if you were, holding out for Gus, if you were going to play him because he was the only running back, unfortunately, there was enough time, fortunately and unfortunately, I guess, depending on what side of the coin you're on, there was enough time to get those two back, so Gus won't be the only one carrying the ball tomorrow, but it will be interesting to see if Dobbins retains and continues the breakout that we saw before this whole COVID breakout mess. Brett also asked, Big Trav, do you think Mixon will be back before week 14 versus Dallas?
I wouldn't be surprised if they shut Mixon down for the year. I see no reason why they would bring Mixon back at this point. They just paid him big money. They've got Burrow out. They have no reason to be competing. Just kind of ride this season out here.
Yeah, exactly. Austin Sear joining us in here. What's up, buddy? He's giving a big shout out to Brashad. That's his man. And Lazard. He also loves Lazard. Ooh, Giftopoulos saying, I lost by 0.9 because the Packers had to do play action in the red zone twice instead of running it with Aaron Jones. Hey, it definitely gets very frustrating when you're in that moment. I know that feeling. So does Big Travis. It's terrible. But let's see if we can get you a win this week. Those close ones. Hopefully you get a stat correction. That'd be pretty cool, huh? All right, let's see. We got some more people. Tater Tot asks, my other receivers are DK, Thomas, Hardman, and AJ. Oh, sorry, I missed his initial. I have Fuller. So Tater Tot asks, I have Fuller going into a final division matchup this weekend, and if I win, I get a bye. If not, I'm in the playoffs anyway, but would love that bye. What do I do? I totally agree. You want to get that bye? Let's get you that bye. So he's saying my receivers are DK, Thomas, Hardman, and AJ Green. Not sure what
the question is here, but
yeah, I mean, if you're only like DK and Thomas, you're definitely starting. If you're asking between Hardman and AJ Green, I would go Hardman over AJ Green, because Hardman only needs one play. AJ Green's been fading; he doesn't even look good. And
yeah, AJ Green could be dropped for Perriman or even Lazard at this point.
Right.
Like,
that's actually where I would go. I would actually go to the waiver wire and drop AJ Green and find your waiver wire replacement there if you're looking for a waiver wire play this week at the wide receiver position. Austin Sear, Whisper Nation is a sovereign nation. It's where only rules are TFW for FTW. So TFW for the win. I appreciate that. We appreciate that, Austin. Trying to build an awesome nation over here. I think we're doing a good job. Thomas Medina. Oh, he's from Panama. He said, Ola from Panama. What's up, dude? We're just getting, this is great. All right, pick 2. Gio, Duke, Gus, the Bus, Mostert, Cam Akers for week 13. Gracias. I'm going to go with Duke and Mostert are going to be my initial thoughts. We'll dive into this matchup a lot more, but that's where I would go with this initial. Make sure you join in to us, Thomas, on Sunday, 90 minutes before kickoff, and we can give you a definitive answer on that lineup question for sure. Jaws Whedon asks, do you think this game actually gets played, Big Trappy, tomorrow? I think so.
I do think so. Like we talked a little bit at the top of the show, it seemed like the NFL was trying to make everything work. If you look at why they even moved to Wednesday, it was for NBC to get the lighting of the Christmas tree and be able to, get that all underway. They looked at the way they were moving games next week, and they have those locked into the schedule. I mean, yeah, I think this game gets played. It seems like they're ready to just roll with it no matter what, which, I think it was big for them to get the schedule changed, to get the ability for ratings on other shows, but then also to give Ingram and Dobbins another day to try and help Baltimore get a little bit more competitive in this game. They understand, the NFL knows they're trying to limit competitive anomalies as much as they can. But teams knew. There was an interesting point made last night, even by Booger McFarland, who I think is we all kind of joke about, but he actually said, look, players and coaches and everybody was given an opportunity to opt in or opt out. And so if you opted in, you've got to take the lumps of what happens with this season for what it is. And everybody's trying. And I will, I don't like to give the NFL too much credit because they definitely use their power. I like the way that they're kind of handling it now, as opposed to the way they were handling it before, where they didn't seem like they knew what they were doing. But it does seem like they're a lot more calculated now. They may not be transparent, but they're calculated.
100%. I agree with that. All right, we got a couple more comments in here, and then we'll sign off for the day. Clayton Hunter asks, would you pick up Tunyon or Burton with Ebron and Hurst on the roster? Once again, I probably wouldn't unless you were trying to block somebody else with one of those. But I feel confident with Ebron and Hurst. I actually really like the Ebron play this week. Started to do some of the matchup dive-ins, and Ebron was one of the players that I kind of looked at. And I actually do think that Ebron is a nice play in week 13 and moving forward. So I don't think I would drop and I don't think I would pick up Burton or Tunyon having Ebron and Hurst on your roster. Giftopoulos asks, he meant Latavius Murray or Alvin Kamara, not think he was asking. Yeah, somebody else there,
Jamal
Jamal Williams. That's right. So Latavius Murray, he has been picking up his production with Taysom under quarterback, but I don't know if I'm ready to say that I would start Latavius Murray over.
With everything on the line in Week 13 for you to try and get into the playoffs. How bad are you going to feel if you left Alvin Kamara on the bench and he gets some touchdowns, a couple touchdowns here in this game? You're going to feel bad. Bottom line, that's how it works. And although the Atlanta Falcons have been good against the run as pure rushers, they've been good against pure rushers. They've been letting up receptions and receiving yards to running backs, and that fits Alvin Kamara's play style. And there's going to be nobody who knows that a little bit more than Sean Payton. So.
All right, we have Clayton says, appreciate it, guys. Lunch break is over, but great content for a break. Appreciate that. Make sure you sub, Clayton. If you aren't already subbed, we put out content daily. Go live on Fridays and Sundays. All right, Tater Todd asks, sorry, guys, I was asking who do I target on the waiver wire by dropping Fuller, or do I try to trade one of my other wide receivers? I would drop the AJ Green and I would pick up Perryman or some of the other guys that we were talking about on this waiver wire show. Alan Lazard. I don't know if I would. Yeah, I would rather play Alan Lazard than AJ Green, but definitely go look for Brashad Perriman on your waiver wires. I like him a lot more than AJ Green at this point. And
yes.
Or even like if you have Will Fuller, you could just drop Will Fuller. You don't even have to drop AJ Green. All right, I think that was it. I think that was all the questions, man. We made it through.
All right. Well, Whisper Nation, I just want to remind you guys the article will be up on the site later today. We've got an extended waiver period, so make sure you guys know your rules. Make sure you're following along with the rules of your league on when your waivers are going to go through. And all in all, just have a happy holiday season and hope we get you guys these W's. Stick with us all week this week. We're going to have the news and nuggets on Friday. We're going to have rankings up later this week. And we'll, of course, have matchup columns and things like that on the website. And then Sunday we'll go live. Help you guys with those last minute decisions, burping up some of these the bold and spicy.
Yeah, apparently, dude.
Wasabi,
dude. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, for Johnny Game Time Hicks, I'm Big Travie. We're the Fantasy Whispers, and we're out. Peace. Don't forget to subscribe.